Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be checking out the SJRC S30W GPS toy grade quadcopter. Now it's been quite a while since I've checked out a toy grade quadcopter, but I think they are really important. I think if you were to ask anyone how they got into the hobby, it would have been through a toy grade model. And this one caught my eye because I think it's a really good price and it's got great features for a beginner such as GPS, and it's also got a nice camera as well. It is a 720p camera, but it does record the footage to a micro SD card. You're not given a micro SD card, you have to source that yourself. And its competitor would be, I guess, the Hubsan 507A, which I reviewed on the channel, and it's about the same price. I actually think the Hubsan's a little bit cheaper, but when I look at this model, it's actually got a servo in the camera, so you can adjust the camera angle there. I mean, for me, really, I'm going to be having the camera facing forward. But what I like about this model is it's actually using 2.4 gigahertz on the Wi-Fi signal rather than 5.8 gigahertz. And you might be surprised by that, but that is because this model is doing digital FPV, so it's over Wi-Fi. And a problem that a lot of these toy grade models have when they use 5.8 gigahertz is they pick a channel that is usually banned in Europe, and a lot of the phones lock out the channel and you can't connect to them. This one is running 2.4, so you should be able to connect to the Wi-Fi using any phone. And I know a lot of you are thinking, oh man, don't go for Wi-Fi FPV, you know, go for proper analog. And yeah, that is something that you can progress to, but when you are learning, it's not so necessary, especially when the model has got GPS and if it all works correctly as well. I mean, if you look at the DJI models, there's quite a bit of latency between the footage that you are seeing, but because it's got GPS, it doesn't matter so much because the copter takes control of all of that. Downsides of it so far, I mean, it's using brushed motors, and brushed motors are known to wear out, so you might want to invest in some spare motors, and of course then you'd have to take it all apart, etc. But one thing that is good about brush motors is the efficiency. You see in there it's using some cogs. In fact, I think somewhere they give you some spares of those, because yeah, the downside of using cogs is that they can strip and break, but an upside is that it makes the copter pretty efficient. So this model is actually only using a 1-cell battery here, and it's a pretty neat battery. It charges straight off a USB connector, so you're given a USB cable there. You can plug it into any USB source that is 5 volt and it will charge up. And it's a fairly big battery as well for this size of model. It's a 1000 milliamp, and you've got a button on there and you can see how much it is charged there. And it is a proprietary battery, so if you wanted to get a bunch of batteries you would have to, but you know, that is the case with toy grade anyway, really. You know, there's not many toy grade models out there that you can go and just plug, you know, a normal hobby battery into anyways. So I quite like that. That just slots in there like so, and you've got the button to turn it on there. Yeah, and it's really neat. We've got these legs on here. It's a very lightweight model. Something I really like about it as well is it comes out of the box like this, ready. There's no assembly whatsoever. Something that always used to bother me with toy grade copters is you'd have to spend like half an hour putting them together. That is not the case with this model. So, another thing I like about it is the controller. Of course, it's toy grade, so, you know, it feels cheap and it's plasticky. And you can see there that this is where this attachment goes on here for your phone to go in. And it's quite tricky to get out. But there you go, you have to slide that in. But if you look, nowhere to put the batteries, and that is because the controller has a built-in battery. Now, it doesn't say how big the battery is and it doesn't say how long it's going to last, but you know, hopefully it should get us a couple of flights. Now, unfortunately as well, it does only come in mode 2, which is fine if you're a beginner, because, you know, I always recommend if you're a beginner, just start mode 2. It will save yourself a load of bother later on. I'm a mode 1 flyer, so I'm going to be flying this in mode 2. What I like about this, though, is look at all these lights on here, and it's very clear as well what all of the controls do. So when you turn this on, you can lift it up and down, and then, you know, if you had turned the copter on, then it would bind to it, and then this gives off a Wi-Fi signal. You have to download the app, put it on your phone, and you get your video, and apparently the video link is very good, but of course I'll take a look at that. So this has got GPS functions like return to home, and you can actually turn the GPS off. So if you hold this button down here, I think you can see the light goes off as well. It tells you that GPS is no longer active. We've got 3 different speed modes on here, so 1, 2, and 3. And then if you long press this down, these then become trimmers as well, and the thing beeps there, so I'll just hold that down to stop that. So when you get this, it's going to prompt you to calibrate the compass, and you can do that manually by pushing the sticks inwards. You can calibrate the accelerometer by pushing the sticks outwards, although it does do that every time it turns on, so make sure when you turn it on, it's on a flat surface. Yeah, so we've got a takeoff and land button. There's no arming from what I can see, so you have to press this button to take off and land. Power button there. And then we have got some buttons on the back as well. Now look at this one. Follow me. So yes, this copter does have a follow me function. However, there's no GPS unit in the controller. It relies on the GPS in your phone. So, you know, some controllers have a GPS in there, so you don't need to rely on the phone. So that might be seen as a downside. This is how you take a picture and video. So it's a short press for your photos and a long press to do the videos. And then this is the angle of your camera, so you can control it from the air, and I think that's pretty neat, I do. Okay, so let's turn this thing on. So it's a short press to get it to boot up, and it's a long press then to shut it down. So if I now take the controller and lift the throttle up and down, then it should bind. And then if I just turn on my device here, and I'm going to go into the Wi-Fi, and I'll just have to go into more settings there, and let's just wait for the Wi-Fi hotspot to show up. There we go, it's showing there. This is a Google Pixel 2 XL, so that should connect, and I should get a no internet access error, so I'm going to press yes on there. Then the app is called SJRC, so I'm going to go into there, and it's a pretty nice app actually. You can see all of their different models there. They actually have one that looks very similar to a Phantom, but this is the model that we have here. So if I go into controls, and you can see here it's prompting me to do a compass calibration, so it's saying pick up the drone and then do a full circle 360 degrees. So I'll just do that. It's best to do that away from cameras and metal objects. Now it's telling me to point it down and do a 360 and then put it back to level there, and it's done. And yeah, the app looks pretty nice, I have to say. So we've got our controls on here as well, so follow me, and we've got return home and take off and land on here. We can start the video, and I tell you what, the feed is looking pretty clear. Of course, I'm very close here, and we can go in here and view the recorded footage. There's options as well, like, you know, draw a line. I would say ignore any of that. We've also got VR, which I'm not going to use as well, and then down here we've got our distance and height and vertical speed and stuff like that. It is pretty neat for the price. The only thing I'm noticing is the angle here. You have to kind of hold it down before the camera will move enough. Just like a single click doesn't really move it that much, so you know, it's a big old hold down the button there, but that is fine. So, other stuff that you get, so you get a spare set of propellers, and like I say, we've got some cogs in there and a screwdriver. You get a spare set of landing legs, so I guess, you know, they do feel quite weak, and the USB connector, and there's a manual as well, so yeah, fairly decent manual. It all seems pretty good for the price, so let's get and take it for a fly. Okay, well, it's -1 here and it's snowing a little bit, but I've got everything connected here and it says that it's ready to fly. So I'm gonna start the video recording, just long press of that, and the controller constantly beeps. Well, that's not gonna get annoying, is it? Have you got any indication on the screen that it's recording? No, it just says ready to fly. Now, we've got a breeze here today, so I've got it in the speed 3 option. So, let's press the takeoff button and see what happens. Well, it crashed straight away. That's a great start, covered in snow. And it looks like it's got some sort of protection on there, so probably gonna have to disconnect it and reconnect it. Okay, let's try again. No, there's something wrong there. I can feel it pitching backwards on its own. Maybe it's the trim. Hold the trim down, see if I can stop it from doing that. Let's hold it, put in pitch trim in. Doesn't seem to be doing that much. Well, it's in trimming mode here, you see. So it's hovering there in GPS mode. It's toilet bowling a little bit, but it's staying in one place. I believe there's a problem with the controller, because if I take it out of this trimming mode, I think it is just going to fly off. So I wonder if I can start the video recording there. I don't think so, but I have a feeling if I come out of this trim mode, it's just gonna fly away. So I'm gonna keep my finger on this land button, and if you double press, it stops the motors. So let's come out of this mode and see what happens. Actually, I'll just bring it down a little bit. So it's a long press to get out. Look at that. Where's it going? Okay, double, yeah. We have got a problem here. I think it's a problem with the controller. Seems to be constantly inputting one control regardless of the trim. And I have calibrated everything and it's still doing it. So, well, looks like I've got a duff product, which is a shame because this one looked like it was going to be pretty good. I've lost it in the snow, but you know, it doesn't work anyways. But yeah, I would suggest that you go and watch other people's reviews on it, because some people did have some luck with it, but not me, I'm afraid. So there you go. So that was pretty disappointing. I was hoping this to be a good model. Actually broke a propeller in the crash there. I had to do an emergency stop. So that's a double press of the takeoff and land button and it completely stops the motors. It's nice that it's got that feature at least. So yeah, it seems like there's some sort of problem with the controller. It feels like there needs to be some sort of stick calibration to be done. However, when I check the manual, the only option we have is to have both of the sticks out, which apparently resets everything and also resets the gyro, and we have both sticks inwards, which calibrates the compass. I've tried some other things, so like pressing buttons whilst turning it on, and that doesn't seem to do anything. So it's putting pitch backwards in and also roll as well, and if I try to counteract that, nothing happens. And did you see that? The controller turned on by itself, and there are some things about this that make me think that you shouldn't go for it despite this problem. Now, this might be because I've got a faulty controller. However, it just randomly turns on. It can be sort of just sat there and it randomly switches on, just like it did then. I've taken it apart to see if there are any shorts on these solder joints, and it doesn't seem to be the case, but that is really strange. Another thing I noticed as well is if you turn it off, sometimes it won't turn back on again straight away. Yeah, it's fine now. But yeah, I would say faulty controller, and if it's doing that randomly, just turning on, it's just going to drain the battery in the box, isn't it? But you saw that it turned on when I put like an input in. So yeah, it's behaving now. I don't like that. I certainly don't like the constant beeping on the video when it's recording video. I know why they've done it, because there's no indication of it recording on the screen or on the copter, but man, that is just so annoying. And then I noticed the video footage had a bit of jello on it, and I think that's because this is quite loose, this mount, and you know, it's probably a high exposure day with the snow, you know, but yeah, still getting rolling shutter jello on there. And for me, I think you'd be better off going with the Hubsan, the H507A. Hubsan have been around for longer. It's got very similar features, alright. It doesn't do the camera tilting, but I would always have the camera pointed upwards as well. I did notice a little bit of toilet bowling when I managed to get it flying in the trimming mode. So when it's in the trimming mode, it disables the sticks, you see. So it was fine then, but the moment you long press this, it did its thing. So some kind of issue with the controller. Anyways, there is my failed review. I think it's important to show the fails, and like I say, I'll link in the below to the Hubsan. I think it's a better model. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.